Yet there are examples also of places of importance, religious and cultural, that I myself find a bit problematic. And the example of the former Chevrat Tehillim synagogue is such an example to me. Now it's been rented out to a musical club, and the problem that I have with it is that its current tenants have cut a new entrance, created a new entrance through the Holy Ark, which is the most important place of each synagogue, and rather than enter the place through its two former doors, you enter it through a new entrance created in that most holy place of that former synagogue. Whether this has had to be done really in such a way is dubious to me, and I find that a bit problematic. At least a few other places could also be commemorated and have not been commemorated yet. Let me just mention one out of many: the former Maccabi football pitch, the only Jewish sport pitch existing in Krakow. There's not even a single plaque there commemorating that this was a place which was an important place of popular culture in pre-war Krakow. The long-lasting neglect of a proper commemoration of the former Plaszow concentration camp is hopefully soon going to be redressed, and there is work being carried out together by the Museum of Krakow, the city of Krakow, and the Krakow Jewish community. So now that I've mentioned the city of Krakow, let me try to speak a little bit about some positive examples of how the city of Krakow perceives its Jewish heritage and how it tries to incorporate it and receive it. And show that the city and the state feel heirs, or at least some of the heirs, to the Jewish heritage of the city. So in 1997, buildings of religious functions were returned to the Jewish religious community after a Parliament Act was passed. The city and the state have participated in the renovation of Jewish historical monuments. Recently it was the Ramah synagogue, previously it was the Kuppah synagogue and the Temple synagogue. The city and the state have helped create a university department devoted to Jewish studies at the Jagiellonian University. It has also been helping in the organization of the annual International Jewish Culture Festival in Krakow for many years, of which I will speak in a moment again. The city has commemorated the Krakow victims of the Holocaust in the form of a monument in the former ghetto. Commemoration plaques appeared in selected places in the former ghetto. A Remembrance March has been taking place at least since the 1990s. No one really knows when it started, but at least since the 1990s. Every year on the anniversary of the liquidation of the ghetto, a great number of Krakowians, mostly non-Jewish, takes place in a march starting in the main ghetto square, and the participants walk 2 kilometers or so to the Plaszow concentration camp, where many residents of the ghetto were taken to. And the city has also been collaborating on bringing back the memory of the concentration camp Plaszow. So the city has also supported and carried out grassroots initiatives, commemorative initiatives. The city has created museums speaking of the Holocaust in Krakow, such as the Eagle Pharmacy Museum in the former ghetto area, or the Schindler's Factory Museum, and the Old Synagogue Museum that I've mentioned before, that speaks of the basics of Judaism. But there are also other non-Jewish or largely non-Jewish participants in the collective Jewish memory of Krakow, except for the city. So I've mentioned the Jewish Culture Festival. which I'm going to quote, is the largest presentation of contemporary culture created by the Jews in Israel and the entire diaspora, but also created by non-Jews here in Krakow. That speaks of the Jewish past of Krakow, to some extent of the Jewish present in Krakow, but also Jewish culture outside Poland, Jewish culture which is not Jewish Polish only. Festival that I mentioned before is a kind of an addition created as an addition to the Jewish culture festival. So these two seem to be working hand in hand on presenting different aspects of Jewish culture and Jewish heritage, Jewish identity today. I have to also mention the Galicia Jewish Museum, which I'm going to quote, exists to commemorate the victims of the Holocaust and celebrate the Jewish culture of Polish Galicia, presenting Jewish history from a new perspective. An innovative and unique institution located in Kazimierz, the Jewish district of Krakow, the museum is a registered charity in Poland. The objectives of the museum are to challenge the stereotypes and misconceptions typically associated with the Jewish past in Poland, and to educate both Poles and Jews about their own histories, whilst encouraging them to think about the future. I wanted to stress a few verbs from this self-definition of the Galicia Jewish Museum: commemorate the victims, celebrate the Jewish culture, challenge the stereotypes and misconception, and educate. And I think that the Galicia Jewish Museum reaches out to both Jews and non-Jews from Poland and from abroad through workshops and lectures for school and university students and for the general public, through screenings of films, through panel discussions of experts, through teacher seminars, but also seminars for Krakow city guides, to challenge the stereotypes often present in city guides' narratives, offers study tours over the Krakow region and the city of Krakow, and finally exhibitions, the permanent exhibition Traces of Memory, but also temporary exhibitions on various subjects. There is also the Institute of Judaic Studies of the Jagiellonian University, which offers BA and MA programs in various aspects of Judaism, the history and culture of Krakow and Polish Jews and the Holocaust. Another participant of this Jewish collective memory is the Museum of Krakow, through its branches of the Old Synagogue, the Eagle Pharmacy, and Oskar Schindler's Factory. There is also a Center of Jewish Culture established in the early 1990s, and again that through mostly lectures and cultural events offers propagating knowledge of and about the Jewish past and the Jewish present. I should also mention the Center for Holocaust Research of the Jagiellonian University, which among other things has been organizing for years the Holocaust Education Summer School for Polish and international teachers. This is an important initiative in expanding the Polish teachers' knowledge of the Holocaust and how to teach the Holocaust. There are also individual participants, grassroots agents, active in commemorating the Jewish past and the Jewish present. For example, the former Hebrew Gymnasium has been commemorated with a plaque that was put up by its former students. But the former Commerce Gymnasium, Jewish Commerce Gymnasium, has had a plaque put up by the graduates and teachers of the school functioning there now. There is also another initiative I'd like to mention, one of many, but this is particularly interesting. Mordechai Gebirtig, the Yiddish folk poet that I mentioned before, has been commemorated with a plaque by the Jewish Culture Festival. This was put up on the house where he lived. But there's yet another interesting form of commemoration by a kind of a chamber of memory, from which Gebirtig's songs are played that can be heard by passers-by And this was organized by Anna Jeziorna, just an individual who happens to be the owner of a small gallery nearby. And she simply did it because she felt that Yiddish folk poet simply has to be commemorated, brought into the memory of the mainstream of the general public. And I think this is a beautiful example. And these are just some of many happening also at the grassroots level, which is a very positive sign.